Commission meeting to order. Please note this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website and on teleconference via Zoom. I would like to remind the planning commissioners to have their microphones turned on and positioned so the audience can hear. Sal, may we have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Chair. We have Commissioner Booth. Commissioner Hill. Present. Worth. Here. Vice Chair Beamsterfer. Here. Chair Lemke.
Present. All right, if I can have you stand for the invocation and the flag salute. Sorry. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we ask you to be with us for this meeting with open minds and open hearts so that we can learn how to use the information we're given tonight to make wonderful decisions for this amazing community. In your name we pray. Amen. Sorry, I know that's a horrible noise. Agenda item 4A is the approval of minutes for meeting of June 6th. Were you all able to review the meeting minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Does the commission have any comments or corrections for the meeting minutes of June 6th?
No corrections, but I'll make a recommendation to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of June 6, 2023. Second.
That was approved 4-0. Item agenda number 5 is the public comment period for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public online, or did you receive any emails that have any items for us to present, Ms. Hernandez?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any comments.
Thank you. Item number 6, introduction to the general plan, chapter 1.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission and the community. My name is Monique Alaniz-Flater, Principal Planner. Tonight, I'm pleased to introduce Chapter 1 of our city's general plan for this work study session. Every city and county in California is required to adopt a general plan to guide the long-term development of the community, prepared in accordance with detailed statutory requirements. The purpose of the general plan is to set the foundation and policy framework for future growth and development. It is a comprehensive document addressing a range of issues and policies that directly affect every aspect of community life. It provides a snapshot of community's current conditions, articulates visions for the future, and outlines a path through policies and implementation programs to achieve the vision. The plan is comprehensive yet flexible enough to respond to emerging trends and challenges. It is a long-range plan that looks ahead 20 years. Our current general plan, which was adopted in 2012, is envisioned to 2030. And at the same time provides guidance and clarity for the near-term decisions and daily project review that the city of Hemet has adopted in this comprehensive document. It's important to note that the state law does not mandate how often the general plan must be updated, but it is meant to be an active, evolving document that's required. Cities typically will update their general plans periodically, overall to maintain relevance and respond to the physical environment and demographic changes in the community, and are commonly updated every 10 to 20 years. State law allows the elements to be amended up to 4 times per year. This allows the adopted general plan to remain a current document responsive to the community's needs. So for example, we're in the process of we recently updated our housing element to comply with state law, which is currently in certification with the state. We're in the process and we'll be coming back with some workshops for an amendment or update to our city's safety element, as well as a new environmental justice element. And from time to time, we also update our general plan to update different sections of the general plan, not necessarily the entire general plan. So what I'd like to do is just start out first and foremost, what is the general plan and what does it encompass? So the first thing is we look at it from a regional perspective, looking at our city. And this is our planning area from a regional perspective. This is our planning area, and this is the sphere of influence. Each local government is required by state law to adopt a comprehensive general plan for the physical development of its planning area. And the area is defined, encompasses in the jurisdiction, in our jurisdiction, as well as the land outside the boundaries over which it may have future control. So in this example, we have our our jurisdiction, which is highlighted in the Hemet City boundary light yellow, but in a little bit with the orange area or the darker yellow is our planning area or our sphere of influence. And this is determined by the local, by SCAG, the regional, our regional bodies, Southern California Association of Governments, along with the Riverside County Local Agency Formation Commission that establishes the sphere of influence for communities based on vision and need. The general plan includes 7 mandatory elements. Land use here in this in our current element, the mandatory elements are land use, circulation, housing, noise, conservation, open space, and safety. And 5 optional elements: community design, community services, and infrastructure, recreation and trails, historic resources, and art and culture. The good news is the city of Hemet does have a comprehensive general plan that encompasses land use, community design, circulation, community services and infrastructure, public safety. Noise is also incorporated into that document, and then open space and conservation, recreation, trails, historic resources, art, culture, and housing element. So the first, just a high level brief overview. The first element is our land use element, and that includes all the land uses that are established for the city, and it is either classified or into different uses and densities and intensities. So for example, the commission may be used to seeing these maps in their presentations. The land uses are categorized into residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, public, and open space, as well as mixed use and potentially certain areas designated for transportation. This land use map is the framework, and it is the regulatory framework that we utilize based on our adopted general plan. So for example, a property that is highlighted in yellow would be low medium density residential. So we would allow single family residents with a density of 5.1 to 8 dwelling units per acre. Whereas a property that's highlighted in purple would likely have either a business park or industrial zoning, industrial land use designation. This is the hierarchy of the actual zone. So the zoning that's in place for these properties correlates and is consistent with the general plan. We also have the community design element. And as we go through each chapter, we will go through each element and we'll deep dive into each of our general plan elements. So today is just more of a summary on what we might see in each element. So our community design is really the vision. What do we want to see? What are we trying to achieve by our vision? And that has been set forth in this document, in this guiding document. Do we want to see landscaping? Do we want to see open space? We want to see open trails. It also establishes some design parameters for commercial. Also, a lot of the times a general plan will align with the specific plan tied to the project. So this is the vision, the community design element. How do we want our streetscapes to be designed? And what does that look like? Our circulation element includes all of our transportation. It's our transportation, our streets, the connectivity, the hierarchy of arterial corridors, the interconnectedness of our arterial corridors and collector roads going into the transition to neighborhoods. And what are those roadway designs? What is the minimum requirement? We're also looking at sidewalks, bike lanes, established bike lanes, bike trails, and transportation networks to include our major thoroughfares like our SR 74 and the future roadway alignment, the future 79 roadway continuation through the community, as well as the potential for the Metrolink to connect from the Paris station into the city of Hemet, ultimately into our downtown. Community services and infrastructure element. This also includes our educational facilities, government and social services, library services, our infrastructure, our water supply, stormwater management, and natural gas, electricity, solid waste. What are the services that are being provided to the community and what's available for development? We have public safety element. Public safety looks at a variety of issues. In addition to fire and police, it looks at the safety of the community in terms of what are the constraints. For example, what are the areas that where we're interfacing and maybe there could be a threat to wildfires, and how do we ensure that we map these areas out to include protective measures for fire safety, as well as flood dam inundation of our Diamond Valley Lake. What would happen if there was an event? So there are there's storm maps or flood maps that would identify how much this would, where the areas of impact would be in the event of flood dam inundation. Also, the public safety element looks at noise and other potential nuisances in the city. We have the open space and conservation element, and this identifies in the city are areas that are designated for open space and areas that are identified for preservation. And we want to make sure that we are looking at that as we review projects and review potential sensitive areas in the community that could be preserved. We have the recreation and trails element that looks at how our community is being served with recreational facilities, what the goal is to provide more facilities and more opportunity for recreation and activities in the community. The historic resources element, this also looks deep dive into our city's heritage and looking at the cultural resources that we have, our paleontological resources, archaeological resources that we have, very sensitive and coveted archaeological resources in the community, and looking at our past and paying homage to that with our heritage. So each general plan element has includes goals, policies, and objectives for which we would like to pursue programs. So it includes goals, policies, objectives, and potential programs. Although we may not have realized those programs yet, we're working towards that, and that's an active community discussion in what our priorities are as a community. What do we want to focus on? We have the art and cultural element, and this, of course, celebrates our heritage as well as our culture, and it all is interconnected with our historic resources element, and can be tied in to facilitate a fabulous art and culture program in the community, which we could choose to prioritize that as a potential program that meets the goals that align with our strategic, our council's strategic goals for the city. And of course, the housing element, where we're planning for growth in the community, the land use element, and the is interwoven into this document as well. Planning for growth. Right now, we are projected to grow by 2030 approximately 115,000. Our current population is 90,000, but has grown over the past 10 years. And lastly, the environmental justice element, which is not an element in our general plan yet. It is in the pipeline to come back to the Planning Commission and Council to be updated in accordance with state law in accordance with Senate Bill 1000. This is a new element that evaluates potential disadvantaged communities, looks at the potential for providing and ensuring that we have improved air quality, fresh food access, safe and sanitary homes, public physical activity and public facilities, promoting civic engagement and engagement with our community, and prioritizing the needs of certain areas that have been identified as disadvantaged within the community. So some of the key themes of the city's general plan, just wanted to make this a little bit more interesting to look at, really to provide a mix of uses to, number one, achieve job housing ratio and meeting the needs of the community. Job creation, economic development, sustainable land use patterns, promoting Hemet's natural resources, promoting connections to the regional transportation networks, and integrate land uses with multimodal transportation services, fostering a safe and healthy community for all the citizens, recognizing and promoting the community's culture, historic, and social fabric, strengthening the quality and number of educational institutions, facilities, and programs, enlisting smart growth principles, restoring and revitalizing neighborhoods in the historic downtown, strengthen a positive image and create a sense of place for the community, promoting coordination and participation with regional agencies and jurisdictions, and emphasizing goals, policies, and programs to implement the general plan over time, And lastly, to engage the community as being a vital part of enhancing the city's present quality of life in its future. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners.
Hi, Monique. Thank you. And I did email you some questions earlier today. Did you get those?
Yes, I did.
Okay, can we go through those, or you want to get back to me on that?
No, let's absolutely go through those. Let
Okay.
me, one moment, let me just grab my. Okay, so, Commissioner Hill, had a few really great questions, excellent questions. The first question was the general plan overview. It says the plan is amended 4 times per year. Are we currently doing this? And if so, how are we receiving input into it from the community at large? And that's a great question. So right now, we are in the process of mending the general plan safety element, environmental justice element, and the housing element. And through that process, we engaged with a consulting firm who has facilitated workshops on behalf of the city. We held a workshop last year, one workshop for the safety element and environmental justice element. There's information about that effort on our city's website and our planning website, as well as videos to that workshop. Just for anyone that's curious and wants to learn more about it, they can also provide input through, there's a live survey available now on our city's website. They can ask questions about it. They can also contact me directly to be included in future workshops, because we will be coming back. We just received approval by council to, we had to augment the contract to for additional engagement so we can continue and finalize these efforts. So we'll be coming back to the commission with a workshop. What we've done also is we've posted our workshops and let the community know via Facebook, LinkedIn, and we're always open to other ways of reaching out to the community, potentially like a pop-up workshop at the Hemet Mall. There could be other ways that we engage with our community. Those are the ways that we have reached out for those efforts, for the current efforts that we've had in place.
Okay, so if you're doing it 4 times a year, do you reach out to the community like once out of those 4 times, or is it each time you do the update?
We don't have to. We don't have to amend our general plan at all.
Yeah.
It's based
yeah.
on only if we are.
Right.
So in a lot of cases, we'll, from what I've experienced so far, we've reached out, and we'll probably reach out again. We would like more participation. We would like to hear from the community what their opinion is on and their input on some of these elements. Interestingly, we went to the Infrastructure Commission last week for a few of the items that are involving traffic safety and traffic issues in the community. And from what I'm hearing from the Infrastructure Commission is, it sounds like it is their direction or desire for us to seek out an amendment to our circulation plan for the city as traffic conditions have increased in the community. And they want to see a real-time analysis that looks at today's traffic conditions based off the future growth and surrounding areas in our city. So that poses that was an engagement opportunity to interact with our stakeholders. And so with that information, we will provide that as a recommendation to our city planning commission and city council in upcoming meetings.
What about the public safety element? Do we ever have open forums and seek the community's input on that?
Yes, and that's a great question. I would like to re-engage with that process. We've been working through just the draft document, getting it prepared as well as sending that over to CAL FIRE. That's also been reviewed by our police department, our fire department. They've provided updates to it. And really what it is, it's just reflective. It's not necessarily changing the goals, policies, and objectives of desiring a safe community. It's enhancing it by providing updated statistics, new information. So for example, whatever the programs are being by the police department, the cadet programs, or some of the programs that the fire department has, they're adding that information in there. And they're also identifying other ways that they are leveraging their resources for fire safety and police safety. So with that information, we're going to bring it back to the commission, and also we'll open that to the public for engagement, and we can put it up on our city's website to look at those draft documents.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Excuse me. On that note, it seems like it's great to have the information available someplace if someone has an interest to go find it. It seems like there may be some benefit in maybe a more proactive and strategic approach at reaching out to the community. And, having some sort of a almost like a sequence of a plan with that includes, what elements are going to be updated on what schedule, and maybe we do some mailers, maybe we put a sign across Florida Avenue or something to say, hey, come listen to a presentation. And then that gives everybody an opportunity to at least listen to, hey, these are the updates that are going to be coming. There's going to be a safety element. There's going to be a circulation element. If you're interested in participating in that, reach out to so-and-so, but to maybe be a little more proactive and put together more of a strategy on how we target the community to at least advise them initially, and then recruit. I mean, we don't want these open forums where everyone's just going to be talking. So, but you want to have an opportunity to communicate what's going on and solicit input from people, not just those that are actively, because maybe that's not always the right ones to have there as well. You want to have that broad. So, I just something to maybe consider is maybe taking a look at it from a strategic communications perspective. And developing a plan in that regard in concert with all of the other updates and general plan efforts. Couple other questions. What's the difference between sphere of influence and planning area technically, or like how does that?
That was one of my questions too.
I saw that, and then.
My understanding is the sphere of influence is the area identified as the planning area, the potential area to that the city may have future control over. So that is within our influence area is Hemet. Maybe some of the area is county, but we do have areas that are unincorporated that are city, that are Hemet address properties. And those are the areas that you would identify as within our sphere. But if our Sal, our community development director, has anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it well. I think each city has their own sphere. So like San Jacinto would have their own sphere of influence, which would not include our sphere of influence. But what Monique said, the sphere of influence is there for the potential of incorporating those areas into Hemet.
But what's the difference between sphere? What's the difference between the sphere of influence and the planning area? Because there's two different polygons on that exhibit.
Can I interject? So the sphere is like, because San Jacinto shops here, they make school here, it's the people that don't live here, but they come and are a part of the community without living here. And the planning sphere is what they grow into, or happens to be within the city limits. So it's like serving the
doesn't-
sphere of
that doesn't look
influence.
Right. That doesn't sound right.
Versus-
That doesn't sound right based on the exhibit.
We could look at the exhibit and just kind of get a general feel for it. We can pull it back up on the screen.
The planning area is the largest one, then is the sphere of influence is the next one, then the city boundaries is the smallest one. So I understand the city boundary, that's what's been annexed into the city, that's where taxes come from. The question is the difference between the sphere of influence and the planning area. Is a planning area areas that are targeted from a strategic perspective for future annexation? Or is there some, and what's the technical, legal, is there a,
It's a bit of both, but let me read to you from the general plan about the planning area. The Hemet occupies a unique geographic location that offers businesses convenient access to regional urban centers and a quiet and scenic setting amidst open spaces and suburban activities. Hemet is located within the San Gabriel Valley, the San Jacinto Valley, Western Riverside, 30 miles. It's interesting because this is the first general plan that I've seen that has a planning area. All other general plans just have your sphere of influence. So what I'm somewhat understanding on what this planning area means, it's just a area that's outside of the sphere that could be potentially incorporated into the city, into the sphere, but this area also provides somewhat of a hard to explain.
well, I guess if it's hard to explain here, I'm just wondering if
So-
it's superfluous in the general
But
plan.
if I-
What's the purpose of it?
I can
Is
also-
that-
let me ask it in a different way. In the sphere of influence, if we decided to put a park in that area of sphere of influence in the general plan, is that allowed?
No, because we don't have jurisdiction over our.
Ah. Thank you. So it's a sphere of influence, but we have no jurisdiction.
Potentially have jurisdiction over if we go through the process of annexation.
Ah, okay.
So, question, so under the sphere of influence, when it comes to like the circulation and in the planning side of it, if you look at like Stetson, where they repaid the county part of it, but the city never did anything to continue on and finish the rest of the project. Wouldn't that be somewhat in a conflict because we were not planning in that sphere, knowing that they're going to be repaving that road? And why we shouldn't have continued to finish the rest of Stetson, like up to State Street per se, that needs it. But that's all planning, correct, and circulation. So would that be an example of planning in a way of circulation?
Yes. But if there's work done within the sphere of influence, it's obviously county-owned area, so it would be outside of the city's own. Right, this is a public works question. I'm assuming that the public works gets advised by the county of any work that's happening in our sphere, which. serves as coordination purposes with.
Well, I guess my general comment or thought on this is if we don't know what the difference is, why is it in the general plan? And would like to, I mean, I'm a sphere of influence commissioner.
Are
Right?
you?
Yes. So, and when I look at that, it's like, well, maybe am I planning or am I sphere of influence? What's the difference? Because technically on that, I would just like to have some clarification on what the differences are between the two at some point. That might be interesting. The other question I had is kind of the role or the hierarchy, if you will, of the general plan. How does what is top dog, if you will, in terms of establishing requirements? Is zoning and specific plans and everything else have to fall underneath the general plan and meet the general plan?
That is correct. Not only that, the land use designations identified in our general plan. It overrides or supersedes zoning inconsistencies. So if there's issues with the zoning in place, that doesn't match, then either one or the other needs to be changed.
So is that the same for like the circulation element as well?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, because the exhibit that, or the slide on the circulation element showed a cross section of Warren Road being 6 lanes. And, you know, last year, I think it
Yes.
was, there was
So,
a project that came in.
Yes, not to confuse anyone, but now I'm an expert on this issue. So when the city amended the general plan in 2021, there was a reduction in the lanes on Warren Road from 6 lanes to 4 lanes
Okay,
between Stetson and Domenigoni Parkway.
gotcha. So that was done as a GPA and that was just a carryover. Gotcha. Okay,
Carryover, but it is 6 lanes between Florida Avenue and up to Stetson.
gotcha. Thank you.
Okay,
General plan goes into more detail about the planning area. It says that the general plan transcends boundaries and that general law requires the territory within the boundary of the city as well as land outside of its boundaries which bears relation to its planning. This provides cities with a way to indicate potential uses and development issues associated with adjacent unincorporated areas, particularly those areas that may someday be annexed. So it's just an area of potential annexation and
That's the planning area?
Sorry?
That's the planning area?
but I agree, it's still a little unclear as to
But what's the difference? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. No, this is awesome. Thank you, guys.
can you
That's all.
go to my next question?
Absolutely.
All right, I didn't know there was still any questions.
I have 4 questions. Oh, wow.
Back and forth.
The question was, planning staff report key themes in the plan, page 11, restore and vitalize older neighborhoods and the historic district downtown. Can you provide an update on the progress to this particular key theme? Our downtown specific plan identifies the vision for the downtown. However, we have not established a historic preservation program in the city. There's great opportunity in just working in other communities, seeing how rich this community is in historic, the existing historic structures. There's quite an opportunity to engage in an actual program, such as the Mills Act program, or a preservation program that incentivizes property owners to keep their homes in good condition, or to purchase the property that may be historic, to revitalize it. And there are tax and potential tax incentives based on the Secretary of the Interior's guidance for historic preservation. Whenever someone has a historic home, they are eligible if it's in good condition. We do have a plaque program. We just recently received a request for to designate the property. In 1981, there was a survey done by Riverside County on which structures in our city would be deemed historic within the context of the requirements. So that's a good question that's raised. It's something that we can certainly look at in meeting the goals, policies, and objectives of that particular element.
Yeah, in the downtown area, I mean, you go to other cities and you go to these downtown areas where they've been revitalized with, you know, new facades and street upgrades and things like that. Has there been any kind of plan whatsoever to do that here? You know what I'm talking about?
We do, there are programs in place in other communities called the Commercial Rehabilitation Program.
Yeah,
We can certainly, I believe we're actually contemplating that at this time, a potential downtown commercial rehabilitation program. Looking at those areas that could be revitalized, a new facade, a freshening of facade, landscaping, some beautification in the downtown, as well as other areas of the city.
okay.
That was three? Or was that your last one? That was two. Okay.
Okay, we have question number 4, and I think this is the last one. The plot map has indications of a future commuter rail. Can you provide an update as to the progress of the land use? Are there any other areas of interest for future growth? For future commuter rail. So there's an existing Metrolink station up to Paris Station that would ultimately connect into the city's downtown. We have the right of way, or the rail lines are established through that process, but it's a long range process, which would most likely be 10 to 20 years from now, unless it was expedited, unless there was some type of effort to expedite the connection into our community. We also have the potential for a hub, a mobility hub, also in the downtown that we were working with RTA on. We need to reactivate that and take a look at that as well.
After we received your email questions, I did try to research the RTC website, and I knew that there was a plan to extend the Paris station over here to Hemet, but it's not even addressed on their website. It talks about a Paris South station that's due to open in 2027. So in terms of when we're going to see a Metrolink extension here, probably not within the next 10 to 20 years, unless we have will of the council and all the organizations that are within this next route to lobby the state, lobby the government for future funding. But I don't think it's a priority for the county at this point, which I think it should be.
Oh, I mean, it got on the map somehow, some way. Yeah,
Talk about any future expansion anymore. All they really talk about is the Paris South station. expansion. They proposed four stations after the Paris South that would go to, what's the next community? Interior East, West,
Winchester?
Winchester,
Menifee.
Menifee, Winchester, Hemet Airport, and then it'll terminate here in downtown Hemet.
So was this somebody's dream, or was there talk about it at one time? Do you know?
RTC's long range plan.
Oh, it is? Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
But our RCTC is the one that would drive that project, though. So
Well, this plan goes to 2030, so I thought, well, 7 years away.
keep it on the radar.
Absolutely.
A couple of questions. A lot of them got answered. Amended 4 times. You mentioned, I think, 3 that we're trying to amend. Those are just each individuals. It's not one submitted at one time, correct? Like you're saying, this public safety and the circulation and.
Actually, so those ones in particular, they are going as companion entitlements or companion amendments because they're tied to state funding. So we'll be taking them as separate action items, but collectively under one amendment number.
I know I was watching the infrastructure commission as well, and they were talking about that and how they, I believe Chair Kendrick was the one that said, you shouldn't necessarily want to use that as an amended towards the general plan, but if needed for circulation, it'd be a good idea. And I think we should, because a lot of the reports we've been reading are outdated, they're old, and I just think I completely agree with that. The other thing I've noticed is of course, on general plan, we want to engage with the community and be a vital part and get the city involved as well. And something I brought up the last meeting, I'm not sure if we can, but just an idea is on our utility bills that we get in the mail. I don't know if that's completely city issued or if that comes from a third party, but why not be able to put some type of banner on that page about city upcoming workshops and stuff like that, where people are going to get that bill anyway. So it's kind of a free way of letting the community know, and it's going to cover the entire city. Just an idea there. And I think, and then historical downtown, you kind of answered that with Commissioner Hill. We definitely need to do something there. We need to help our downtown and bring people here. And it really needs a lot of TLC. And other than that, I think you did a good job today in the presentation. Thank you. No questions.
Yeah, no, you already answered most of them. I would add to the historical stuff as well. I think that's very important for our community. And then also on the, I forget the name of the element, but the outdoor healthy lifestyle. I was listening to the special council meeting from June 2nd, and there was some discussion on soccer fields and things like that. I'm wondering, have we looked at, or is there a path forward to kind of partner with other agencies, maybe metropolitan, Valleywide? There's a lot of open space out in that area that was slated for use by this city of Hemet residences in one aspect or another. And I'm wondering if kind of to help bridge some of the funding gaps, if we can look at those types of opportunities for joint use, or like long-term lease options like Valleywide has with the Diamond Valley Sports Park. Maybe there's some more area out there that we could use. They also have recycled water available out there, by the way. And then also, I brought it up a couple times with the CIP, but looking at mountain bike trails and indoor park. We have Simpson Park up there, but maybe if we can kind of just keep that on the radar, as it were, to leverage some of the open space that we have and some of the beautiful scenery that we have. Metropolitan has a lot of, from the Shipley Reserve all the way down to Lake Skinner. There's lots of trail. There's lots of open space that we have potential access to if we can work on some partnerships within those agencies that are in our sphere of influence. But thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other question? All right, thank you. That was excellent. Thank you very much. Item 7A, City Attorney Reports.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Item 7B, Community Development Reports.
Government reports, just a quick overview of what the council took action on at the June 13th hearing. They did approve a car wash moratorium. They directed staff to move forward to bring a moratorium for their review and consideration at the July hearing or the 1st of August.
Okay.
And then as we indicated earlier, the King Horn contract budget amendment to continue with our housing element update was also approved for $22,500.
Thank you. Item 7C, Future Agenda Items.
Sure. Our project come back to you as a result of the council steps to be taken prior forward. The item did go to the Infrastructure Commission last week and will be coming back to the council hopefully in July.
Okay.
You want to say something about that Gerard project?
Well, if we could also include that project and also kind of to recap what happened at which items went to infrastructure as well at the last meeting. Okay,
Oh, but let me finish with the other three and then I'll send it over to you. And then the other future items would be the Frontier lot split. And then we have a new warehouse and office building by JD Fields for a new site plan review on that. And then we're gonna go over chapter 2 with our general plan workshop the next time we meet as well. And then she'll provide an overview of the infrastructure commission.
Yes, thank you. So at the last infrastructure commission meeting, it's important to note the two items that we took for their review. The first one was related to a text amendment to the circulation element that was approved by Planning Commission a few, back in, I think it was November or October of 2022. And this was to omit a segment of Whittier Avenue that connects into Kirby. That was approved with the condition that it go back to Infrastructure Commission for their review. And at that meeting, they weren't in support of the actual text amendment as being a viable option based on their concerns for existing conditions in the city, the existing traffic in the city. So we will, I'm not certain if we're going to be bringing that back to the commission or not, but at this time, their direction was that they felt that they needed more information as to why we were requesting that to be omitted. The second discussion point for the 800 North Girard was also concerns for existing conditions in general area and beyond the scope of the project, which were valid concerns that were raised. So we'll be coming back to you with that project with some of their concerns raised, as well as some potential options for the Planning Commission to consider.
Okay.
Thank you. Planning Commissioner reports.
Oh, we have any planning commission report from Commissioner Booth? He's not here. Commissioner Hill.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Nothing to report.
Other than we have a new council member filling in for District 1, Carol Kendrick, which watching the council meeting was what, 3.5 hours? I think it was a very long meeting watching that but they had great candidates, 7 of them to fill in the seat. And I think they picked a good one. I think Carol is going to be good for the city. And so congratulations to her and nothing else to report.
Yeah, here, I was going to congratulate the new councilwoman. And that's it. I have nothing to report. All right, if there's nothing more, we will be adjourned until the meeting of July 18th, 2023 at 6 p.m.